In Chapter 25 of Great Expectations, Pip describes Drummle as an unintelligent, sluggish snob who keeps to himself. In contrast, Startop was spoiled by his mother and is devoted to her. Herbert has become a friend and companion of Pip, and the two enjoy long walks and talks together. Mr. and Mrs. Camilla and Georgiana, Mrs. Havisham's relatives, visit Mr. Matthew Pocket's house. Mrs. Camilla is Mr. Pocket's sister, and Georgiana is a cousin. The Camillas and Georgiana fawn over Pip because of his newfound prosperity. Pip does well with his studies, but has developed some expensive habits. One evening after work, Wemmick takes Pip to his home in Walworth for supper. Pip finds that Wemmick's small house resembles a castle. Wemmick has cut out the top of the house to look like a battery with guns, and there's a plank that serves as a drawbridge over a ditch and an attached small fortress mounted with a cannon, which the clerk fires promptly at 9 o'clock each night. Inside the main house, Wemmick introduces Pip to Wemmick's elderly, nearly deaf father, called the Aged Parent, or Aged P. Aged P seems like an agreeable person who's proud of his son and the house he built, and he enjoys people nodding at him and hearing the cannon go off at 9. Wemmick serves punch to Pip and talks about how the office is one thing and private life is another. It turns out that Mr. Jaggers has never been to Wemmick's castle-like home and knows nothing about it, or the Aged P. The next morning after breakfast, Wemmick takes Pip back to London. During the walk, Pip notices how Wemmick's demeanor seems to harden as they walk along. In Chapter 26 of Great Expectations, Pip, Startop, and Drummle go to Mr. Jaggers' office, and after the lawyer thoroughly washes his face and hands after a case, as if cleansing himself of the people or justice system, Jaggers takes the three young men to his home for dinner. Jaggers has a stately but dingy house, and the lawyer himself distributes the food and drinks to his guests, taking a special interest in Drummle. The courses for the dinner are brought in by a tall, pale woman whose face looks as if disturbed by fiery air, who seems to dread Mr. Jaggers' disapproval. Jaggers encourages his guests to talk about themselves, thus revealing their faults. During the conversation, Jaggers grabs the housekeeper's hand and tells her to show his guests her strong wrists. The housekeeper begs Jaggers not to make her do this, but he insists. She then holds out both wrists, which are deeply scarred across. Jaggers casually discusses the strength of her hands before he lets go. Afterward, Pip gets into an argument with Drummle. As the three young men leave the house, Pip goes back and apologizes to Jaggers for saying anything disagreeable that happened during dinner. Jaggers indicates there's no need to apologize, saying he especially likes the spider, referring to Drummle.